thought ever crossed your mind about a window, maybe?
Window's my whole career, and everybody that we have in that locker room, all the coaches we have. Things are going to change year to year, but our window's always open.
You never know.
Here we go.
The NFL season is 1 week away, the start of the 2024-2025 NFL season. And myriad of things to talk about. I'm going to get into the one that intrigues me the most. And it's been intriguing me the most for the past 2 to 3 years. And that's Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes. Before we get into all of that, first things first, welcome back to ST with Key. Long overdue. Thank you for being with me, listening to me at the start of this new media content journey that I'm on. And let's get into it right away, man. All right, so this rivalry between Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, it gets talked about, but not into the light that I wanted to go and discuss about it. Now, Joe Burrow, I've been a fan of Joe Burrow. I'm a big LSU fan. That's my college team. I always rock with them. That's who I pick to win the chip every year. I don't know why, but I just pick them. Joe Burrow is the one current quarterback that has stopped Patrick Mahomes from getting to the Super Bowl. The only quarterback that has ever done it, that stopped Patrick Mahomes from winning the Super Bowl directly, which means taking him out in the AFC Championship or in the Super Bowl game. The only other man that has done that is that man that played in New England for 20 years and played in Tampa for 3 years. And that's Tom Brady. And what makes Joe Burrow so special is because you hear a lot of people drawing comparisons to a lot of other quarterbacks that have played in the NFL. There's been only one QB that has genuinely been compared to Tom Brady in the beginning of his career, and that's Joe Burrow. Now, it sounds crazy, but I think that is something that needs to be discussed a little bit more. Because as great as Tom Brady is, and we're not trying to throw Joe Burrow into that same stratosphere, because Tom Brady is the best of the best, and the only quarterbacks at this moment that have come close to Tom Brady or that has matched his winning persona is two people in terms of Joe Montana and Patrick Mahomes, who are each at least 3 Super Bowls behind Tom Brady. And Joe Burrow, he doesn't necessarily he hasn't won a championship yet, but he's displayed some qualities that I think are being overlooked in this who's the top contender against the Kansas City Chiefs. And the only person that has done it, knocked out the Kansas City Chiefs, is Joe Burrow. And one thing that it crossed my mind as I was contemplating what one of my first YouTube or sports content video to be rather than a podcast, I had to think long and hard about this. And it's gonna be about the time that Joe Burrow prevented Patrick Mahomes from winning another Super Bowl, an additional Super Bowl. And 3 years ago actually, my apologies, Joe Burrow led Cincinnati into Kansas City after beating the Tennessee Titans in the divisional round, led them into Kansas City, and they were down 21-3 at halftime. But in Tom Brady-esque kind of play style, the Cincinnati Bengals never gave up. And that's because you have someone who has the confidence to say that the championship window is open as long as I'm here, in Joe Burrow. And they stormed back, forced the game to overtime, won 24-21, right? No, I'm sorry, 27-24. And winning just kicking a field goal to send them to the Super Bowl. And it crossed my mind because on a sports show, I had heard someone say that, what if Patrick Mahomes was in that Super Bowl? And I thought about it, man. I really thought about it because as you all know, Patrick Mahomes, with them losing in that AFC Championship, the Chiefs then had to go and trade Tyreek Hill. Now, there's no saying that trade would not have still happened to trade Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins, but it's way harder to trade someone that just won you a Super Bowl championship compared to trading someone after only making it to the AFC Championship. Excuse me. Now, the reason why that's so important is because obviously Joe Burrow, he came up just a little bit short. Joe Burrow was one better offensive lineman away from winning that Super Bowl against the Rams. I'm sure everyone has seen the clip. If not, I'll load it into here where Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase was open down the right sideline, and that is who, and you better put money on it that is who Joe Burrow was looking at the entire time. But his offensive line became really depleted due to Aaron Donald, who's one of the greatest of our generation, at least in the past decade and a half, in terms of his play and his dominance at that interior D lineman position. And not saying that there's no O-line that could have held Aaron Donald, but we all knew going into that game, Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times in the AFC divisional round that year by the Tennessee Titans. You mean to tell me that if the Cincinnati Bengals didn't have one more offensive lineman, that throw could not have been made to Jamar Chase to win the game on a fly route down the right sideline against Jalen Ramsey, who he beat not just once in that game, not just twice. That would have been his 3rd time beating Jalen Ramsey in that game. And, we all look back at it. We're not discrediting the Rams for that championship at all. But one would say, what happens if Kansas City was in that game against the Los Angeles Rams compared to Cincinnati? Are we all just going to say that, Patrick Mahomes would not have won that Super Bowl game? With the O-line that he had, with the weapon of Tyreek Hill that Patrick Mahomes had at that moment, with Travis Kelce at tight end, knowing just how to get open, more open than anybody else at this tight end position? Nah. And it's so strange because every other time, it's one of those things that you can almost guarantee it now. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Now, I may think that that's not going to happen this year, but there's a reason why Patrick Mahomes has been in the AFC Championship game every year, and that's into his greatness. But there's been only one man that's currently playing in the NFL that has took him out in the playoffs. It's Joe Burrow. Now, the reason why I wanted to get into this rivalry is because when Joe Burrow led the Cincinnati Bengals to that win over the Kansas City Chiefs, it shook up everything. Because at that moment in time, the only person we had still beaten was Tom Brady. And Patrick Mahomes has looked unbeatable even since that moment. Because the next year in the AFC Championship game, the Cincinnati Bengals ran into Arrowhead again. And this time coming up short, but with a lot of questionable calls. But nonetheless, though, the last call of the game, linebacker Joseph Asai, he hits Patrick Mahomes. He's going out of bounds, bumps the Kansas City Chiefs into field goal range. Boom. Harrison Butker nails a field goal, sends the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. They go on to beat the Eagles. The following year, this past season, Kansas City went to Baltimore in the AFC Championship game and beat them there. And the thing is that there is no other team, there's no other quarterback that puts doubt into people's minds, I think, at least. You can go around and ask everybody, did they think that the Baltimore Ravens would truly beat Patrick Mahomes? And you're going to run into a 75% amount of people that are going to say no, Kansas City will beat the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship, because it doesn't matter when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. No matter what, it seems like Patrick Mahomes gets it done, but there's only one person that rattles that cage of Patrick Mahomes, and this is Joe Burrow. Now, why is this upcoming season so important? The Kansas City Chiefs, they're trying to go for a three-peat right now. Why? Now, they might play Cincinnati week 2 in this upcoming season, but we all kind of figured that Cincinnati, if Joe Burrow is healthy, that Cincinnati is going to be right back in that championship picture. And best believe it, with that quarterback, with him, with the confidence that he has, the way that he plays, slinging the rock around to those wide receivers, those tight ends, the running backs out of the backfield, Joe Burrow gets all his offense involved. And that's why it's so hard to beat the Cincinnati Bengals when they're at their best, is because you can't take away every single option. And that reminds me of Tom Brady. Looking at Tom Brady play, like, yes, Tom Brady had his go-to guys. Gronk was in there in the middle. Tom Brady's telling Gronk, hey, like, go to the slide. Hey, Gronk, go out wide, split out wide, run this route, but Tom Brady also had a James White that he would hit out of the backfield. He had a Danny Amendola that he would hit from the slide. A Julian Edelman. Joe Burrow has that same trait in terms of slinging the rock around to everybody. And that's something that you need to be Patrick Mahomes and going against the Kansas City defense that is so good, that is so adept at taking away your 2-star players in terms of your 2 main offensive weapons. You need to be able to go to that 3rd guy. You need to be able to go to that 4th guy. And that showed true when you look at the teams that the Kansas City Chiefs beat on the way to the Super Bowl this past season, going against Buffalo Bills, Buffalo, Josh Allen, his main threats, Dalton Kincaid, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. Now, you need to have an otherworldly tight end to be able to get the production, to be able to get past Kansas City's defense. And that showed true, because when Baltimore is at home against Kansas City, they didn't connect with their tight ends as much as they were against other teams, because Kansas City is so good at taking the middle of the field out of play and forcing you to say, hey, you're going to have to throw in between our safety. You're going to have to throw in that middle third in that seam route against our safeties, our safeties that know the game plan in particular, and then going against our corners. But this opportunity that the Cincinnati Bengals have, and I think and best believe that the Cincinnati Bengals are aware of this. This rivalry is just going to be so important, because now as we can say that the Kansas City's defense got either better or say got worse with the trade of L'Jarius Sneed. But L'Jarius Sneed, who was a lockdown corner for them for the past 4 years, now we're talking about, so now that's an extra weapon to open up? Who is best at utilizing his weapons right now in the NFL, especially in the AFC, besides a Patrick Mahomes? It's Joe Burrow. This rivalry is just so important to me, because through all these other quarterbacks in the AFC, now CJ Stroud, he might be next up, because he does the same thing in terms of slinging the rock around to everybody. But we need to see him go against another good team, because he lost to Baltimore when it was all said and done in this year's playoffs. Now, Joe Burrow, to get back into this and to get back into that segment. Joe Burrow is just so good. He's so nice. He's so good at football, because it doesn't matter that his offensive lineman hasn't helped him. He has this fearless mentality, because he knows that he can beat anybody. You see a lot of other quarterbacks, they get a little shaken up when Patrick Mahomes rolls into town, or you roll into Patrick Mahomes' home turf. You see it. You don't necessarily see interceptions or anything, but you see mistakes being made. Joe Burrow has showed that in that moment, he's not rattled. Lamar Jackson, as much as I love Lamar, he's rattled, because respect your coaches, respect the head coach, respect the offense coordinator. But if you best believe that if you know you have an advantage running the ball all season long, do not stray away from that. It's about sticking to what you know. And there's no other quarterback that I trust with that than Joe Burrow compared to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC at the least. Now, there's a lot of work to be done. But in terms of this rivalry, I think that it's only just beginning. And we've seen it. We've seen it. And Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, there's one team that they know that they struggle to beat every time they play. Not to say every other NFL game they play in the playoffs isn't a tall task, but we can without question say that if it wasn't for a penalty, that Cincinnati would have went to back-to-back Super Bowls in this whole dynastic era that the Chiefs are in. And this era is either going to be filled with these competitions, or nonetheless, Joe Burrow might be here to take it all. That's it for this video. Peace and love. Can't wait to see you guys on the next one. Peace.